I am talking with artist, singer, photographer, and filmmaker Deborah Anderson about the importance of trusting and using our voices and our creativity, sharing our stories, and really listening to and celebrating the stories of others. I first came across Deborah's work as a photographer through her collaboration with Pink and her albums. And then I saw her photos of Elton John and Sting and George Clooney, Cindy Crawford, and others. Her photos have been featured in Vogue and Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone, and in hotels and galleries around the world. But it was her portraits of Lakota women that really captivated me. I went to Deborah's exhibition at the Leica Gallery in LA and I was mesmerized. You may have seen Deborah's portrait of the Native American woman Delisena Chief Eagle with the American flag and the bloody handprint that went viral online, shedding light on missing and murdered indigenous women. And Deborah's film, Women of the White Buffalo, was critically acclaimed and won a ton of awards for its portrayal of Lakota women preserving their culture against systemic odds. For the past 10 years, Deborah has used her lens and her creativity to amplify the voices and stories of women through her documentary Aroused, the short film My Revolution in collaboration with Eve Ensler and Rosario Dawson, and the short film Rise with Tandy Newton for the 1 Billion Rising organization. Deborah's work has a reverence that invites you to be a participant and step into action to honor your human experience and that of others. And more recently, Deborah has really leaned into her ability to connect with the unseen realms, with spirit and nature, and we are going to talk about all of it. I am really excited for you to hear what she has to say about how we weave stories as humans and how we can connect with each other in a way that transcends culture and language. So let's get the skinny from Deborah Anderson. Oh, Deborah, I loved your documentary, Women of the White Buffalo. So before we really get into this and your life and legacy, I want to ask you where this storytelling cellular need, for want of a better expression, was birthed in you. You come from a very creative family. When did you learn to use your voice and value it and want to tell stories?
Wow, it's such a beautiful way to start the conversation, because to me, it's all about storytelling. This idea of why we're here is to create the story, the great story of our lives. And it's very individual. And I always say to anybody who asks me around the subject or the nature of photography, and they want tips or they want ideas or thoughts around how to become a photographer. And I always say, what is the story that you're going to be telling? What is the story that you're going to be sharing? So I think maybe the part of the storyteller is my father, whom not only a musician and on many levels, sort of global success with his music and his storytelling. He would tell me stories, as I remember growing up, about the fairy kingdom, about consciousness, about the unseen realms. And I just couldn't wait for him to come back off tour so that he would tuck me into bed and tell me a story. And I think that's really the beginning of the storytelling. Is he's an amazing storyteller, and with total respect of his magnitude as an artist, I feel like the apple didn't fall very far. It's something that I gravitate towards, is as an artist, is to tell the story that people want to listen to, want to hear.
So as you were marveling at his ability to tell a story and immersing yourself in this world, when did you claim that you were going to put your voice into the mix?
I don't think it was a sort of a cognizant moment of this is what I must now do. I think it's just the unfolding as an artist is that you're constantly expressing yourself. And for me, I'm just constantly in the weaving of stories through my art, depending on, the outlet, because it's been a journey of many outlets. So,
yes.
which it's interesting, because I know someone said to me, a while back, the idea of claiming yourself as an artist, to say I'm an artist is a really big deal. I never thought a different way of my being. I never thought a different my expressing myself, let's say. It's like I'm an artist. It just felt so part of the fabric of my voice. So there was never a decisive moment that I am doing this. I've just constantly been doing it.
Let's talk about the outlets then, because there are many, and I'm sure will be many more. So singing, you were singing with your father. Was that the first outlet where you just felt this creativity flowing through you?
It was just the normal, it was the one that my dad was next door in the studio. It was the one easily available to me. It was just there.
Oh.
It was always that thing of can I sing on your album? Can I sing on your, whatever you're recording? And I think I was just that pushy little bright spark, really, of energy that wanted to participate in that creative energy. So I was singing with my dad from the age of 8, 9 professionally. And he went on tour and I sang live with him. I think it was at the Royal Albert Hall. I was age 9 because I'd done a duet with him on his Song of Seven album. So there was always this desire to participate with him. It just felt like a natural thing. I think you could ask most children of artists that ultimately it's so part of the fabric of your everyday. There's nothing odd about going into the studio and singing with your dad, or having him sit on the piano and be like, come sit next to me and let's sing a song on a constant basis. And then there's that piece of watching him perform. So you're constantly being given this understanding that it's okay to do this. It's okay to be an artist. It's seen. It's okay to be creative. It's okay to expand and express and be in that space with no well, what is it that you're going to be when you're a grown up? You should be a doctor. That was never part of the fabric. It was, oh, so you're clearly an artist, and you're clearly creative. So you're just riffing off of that frequency of expressing yourself. So to me, it was like, this is my expression. I am an artist. It was clear from early on. And then there were many different, I wanted to be a singer at that point after singing on many of my dad's albums. And age 16, I think I created my first demo and Dad was not impressed. He was not impressed. He asked me if I was he goes to me, so what drugs are we taking? I'm like, I don't think I've told anybody that story. Devastated. I poured my heart, and then he had me listen to Ricky Lee Jones and Joni Mitchell and other various.
Joni Mitchell.
To develop he said, listen to these songwriters, these songstress, these, the way in which they curate their harmonies and the melodies and the vocal tones. And then, of course, the lyrics. And I started, it changes everything.
Poetry.
So it's not just because you're close to that energy that you are to be that. It's, well, no, you have to develop your skill. You have to develop your ability to do this. And this is a craft that will take the 10,000 hours that it takes to become good at. So that's when I realized there was more to it than just having it be so accessible. There was I even have the talent to do this. Do I really have the ability? And that's, I think, why I was able to step into so many sort of parts of my creative being, that my dad never said no. My mom never said no. It was always like, do who you are. And that's, then you sort of generate that path for yourself. And that's when it either works or it doesn't,
It seems also that they were helping you strive for excellence and ask questions and listen deeply. This deep listening and reverence for the quality and the vibration of things that is so integral to your work now was instilled in you early on. That's what I'm hearing when I
what's interesting?
What you're saying.
I think if anything, that comes from wanting to be as good as my dad. It was never that they instilled that in me. It's that thing of, he's so good at this, I need to be really good at what I do, because there's this constant, oh, you're so-and-so's daughter, or you're so-and-so's, part of this family, this creative family. And I just wanted to be sure that if I'm going to do this, and I'm really good at it. So there was no room for, because I'm the daughter of, I then get free hall pass. You don't. It doesn't work like that. I've seen many iterations of it. The real talent is that coming within and the listening. And that has taken me years to fully form itself, and become within me, that I can trust in who I am and what I do. So that wasn't them. It was more me wanting to impress them, or there was a lot of eyes on me because of it.
So how did you then interpret when he said, what drugs are you on? What are you doing here? Go and listen to Joni Mitchell, listen to the way that they're weaving, through things. How did you then interpret it if you weren't interpreting it as an invitation to be better?
You sort of go, oh God, there's a lot of work ahead. So, you're like, you come from a very, very different storytelling, a different timeline as well. We're talking about the time that I started to drop into music, releasing and getting signed and whatnot was in the late 90s. And there was a lot of drum and bass music coming out, and that scene in London was very specific. And I kind of fell into something with this artist called Alex Reese, where they gave me this drum and bass track, and I sang what I know. I'd sung so much over my dad's stuff over the years. And then it was kind of the birth of this new way in which drum and bass was interpreted with song, with a proper lyrical melodic song on top of it. And that song did very, very well and was a big part of the scene, the dance scene in Europe and in England. And that it was kind of, I fell into that, and then I got signed, and then it was this, then you start developing I think that's the piece that's really important to say, is that, we jump into these ideas of being creative and wanting to be an artist. And then there's defining what is your voice. It goes back to what's the story you're telling. And at the time I was so young, I loved Bjork. I loved all these different artists that sound.
Bjork. Yeah.
She has her sound. It's so Bjork.
Yes.
Or Björk, as she would be known as, Björk. And I felt that I didn't know what my sound was. And that's when I sort of veered into moving into photography and clothing, and started to create. I was wearing the clothes that I was making for the photo shoots for my album material. And the record label that I was signed to, A&M Records, folded. It had a huge hit with Feel the Sunshine. And I was working with these amazing off-piste drum and bass artists, and just cool collaborations with DJ Shadow and various Japanese artists and such, because I was signed to Mowax through A&M. But because they folded and there was then just a lot of confusion, I sort of stepped away and focused in on the clothing line, because everyone kept saying, well, what you're wearing is amazing. And I just didn't know if I had it as the singer. And I was, okay, I'm going to now express myself as this seamstress and creator of clothes. And that became this massive movement, because I started to work with vintage clothing. And I will say the Times newspaper in England, they quoted that I was the beginning of that movement, that I had created something, because I was selling these beautiful dresses from the 20s and 30s, slip dresses, hand dyeing them, hand embellishing them with these velvet flowers. And the next minute, Helena Christensen or Minnie Driver, who I grew up with, was wearing my pieces. Many. I mean, there was many, Vogue was picking up on these. It suddenly became this movement, and I was selling my dresses to Harrods in London, Maria Louisa in Paris, to these like, I think I had 8 doors, Bergdorf Goodman in New York, and I couldn't keep up with the demand, and I didn't have the finance backing. But then I was like, I want to be a clothing designer. This is what I want to do. It went too quickly. It grew too fast, and I wasn't able to keep up with, and I had no business sense around it. And I had no backup financially from other bigger companies. And so I saw it fall apart because I couldn't meet the demand, and it broke my heart, because I loved that. But in the meantime, I was taking photos of my pieces, these 1920s dresses, with these models slightly sort of half naked, half dressed, and I kind of got into this erotic space. I moved to Paris. And I said, oh, I want to do photography. I fell in love with the work of Paolo Roversi and Peter
Yeah.
Berg and, of course, Helmut Newton. Was a big
Yes.
fan. And then I saw that this was a very white, male dominant space. And yet I was really clear that I wanted to somehow somehow find the space that I could submerge myself into and create my own little energy as a woman of color, as a photographer, and living in Paris. And it was impossible. It was the hardest thing to try and get jobs. I saw people, because I did a lot of photo shoots with a lot of the model agencies as my craft, really became my heart. I was like, wait, this is fantastic. I can pick up my camera and I can take these photos and I can hand them over the next day. I don't have to spend hours and hours in the studio trying to record an album and, months later, maybe having something that we love. I don't have to spend, months and months creating a clothing line and then having to produce this. I can take photos and I can hand them in. It was just a different frequency. And the piece that stuck in the moment of I have something here and actually this is what I want to do and really make this into my career. I believe I was 31. So, 2 years ago. No, I'm kidding. 3 years ago. I was 31, 32 years of age, and I was living in Paris, and I took a whole bunch of photos using some of the clothes that I had left from my clothing line. And I went to have the film developed in this little boutique film development shop. And I went back the next day, and the man working behind the counter said the owner of the shop would like to meet with you. And I was like, oh, okay, and sure. And this old diddy man came out and looked like he was in his early 80s, and he had all my contact sheets. And he said, you're Deborah. And I said, yes, nice to meet you. This is your shop. Thank you so much. You develop all my things. I'm just sort of getting into this photography and I love it. And he says, no, but you have something. And he pulled out my tear sheets and he started pointing at the photos that in his mind were unique and they worked. He said, this is your style. This is your light. And I was like, wow, okay, thank you. Later to find out that he was Henri Cartier-Bresson's personal developer of all of his work, all that beautiful street photography that was the basis of a lot of Leica storytelling.
Yes.
Several other beautiful photographers, male photographers who have done work that we all love and know as iconic photos. So this man had worked with these photographers and had been helping them select and, print a lot of this iconic imagery. And I got to meet him just par hasard, as they would say, by mistake or by as it was
divine intervention by the gods, I would say.
And he said, you have something, go forth, kind of thing. And that was really the beginning of me going, yeah, I can do this. I can carve my niche with this. And it's taken 18 years, 20 years to really develop that voice. It's that took, and it didn't mean that I was working the whole time because again, it's a very white male dominated space. However, I still feel that was a passion that I'm really glad that I found and have continued.
When did you stop needing the permission from somebody else to say you've got something?
About 5 minutes ago.
You and me both.
Isn't that an ever evolving experience for us, right? I think
thank you for being transparent about that because it is an evolving journey with that, where you trust yourself and then you doubt yourself. I think that dance between self-trust and self-doubt is a necessary part of creativity.
I'm going through it now. I'm about to travel around the world to take a film of these indigenous peoples. And I had a meltdown this morning of like, I'm having anxiety because I recognize the enormity of the responsibility. And then I have doubt about my talent and then I have doubt about my capability and I'm traveling on my own. Will my camera work? God bless Leica and, generously have gifted me a couple of cameras to work with. But there's that moment that you're just in doubt that you're always going to be met with that moment. And I think that is what brings the best work, because you're always striving for something beyond what you've just done. How can I I just did a shoot 2 days ago here. I'm in Costa Rica with a private client. And the day before, I could feel all that energy again. Like, will I get it right? Will I be? So I don't think there's ever that moment of, I don't need anyone's approval. I think as an artist, you always want that moment of, you did a good job. And you're like, I did. Maybe it's the 5-year-old in you. It's the one that wanted to please, or it's that one that was in self-doubt. I think there's always having to nurture that part of our being of, you've got this. You've got them.
Ooh, it's bringing up something as I'm listening to you in how we see permission versus validation, acknowledgement. And are they the same thing? Are they sitting in the same sphere?
No, they're not. Because actually, as you say that, I don't need permission. Permission is not my thing. I think it's more, it's the other. It's it's not like, permission's definitely not a thing, because I feel like I'm constantly in that space of evolving my desire to create and express. So I don't ask permission from anybody to do that. I think there's still that, am I doing it well? Is this, this approval piece. I think we're still, as women, looking for those spaces to fill, to be seen in, to be heard, without it looking like a rant or a piece where it's like women trying to find their space. No, our space is very much here, and it always has been. It's more about being seen in that space, if that makes sense.
It does. So is that the driving force behind why so much of your work, not all of your work, but so much of your work is amplifying the resonance of women, the unique medicine and wisdom of women?
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't even think it's a conscious thing. I just don't. I feel that it's something that comes into my sphere. Everything comes through us, right? So ideas, they're all born through a dream, meditation, taking that walk in nature. That idea comes through. And for me, it's just that this is something I enjoy holding. It's not something that I am purposely looking to do so that I can give that voice to those women. It, even like with Aroused, having done that project, which was about women in the adult film industry, it wasn't about must give them a voice, must make them look good. It was just, well, this would be interesting. I wonder if I can shift the gaze. I wonder if I can bring a different angle to this specific work, because it looks like this, but I see it like this. And to go to sit with the Lakota women, it wasn't like they must have their voices heard. I just went, I would like to hear what they have to say. I wonder what it is to be a modern day Native American Indian woman. And so you go in with that rather than a need to capture their voice.
Let's talk about how that came about, because that really was from a dream, from a divine gift, so to speak. Take us inside of that journey to making Women of the White Buffalo.
Yeah, in short, it's this idea that you get given an opportunity and then you wonder how you're going to fill this opportunity. And the opportunity was to have a show at the Leica Gallery in Los Angeles. So Paris Chong, who runs that gallery, invited me to do a show because Julian Lennon, who's an old friend, had done a show. And I said to Jules, I was like, Jules, please introduce me to I would love to do a show with Leica. I would love to be representing Leica. It's just like a dream to be a part of that family. And he introduced me to Paris, who we got on immediate fast friends. She's brilliant and hilarious. And we had a great dinner. And she said, we need voices like yours. We need more women of color. We need more women. So what have you got? And I was like, I'll get back to you with that. And I literally went home going, what's the story I want to share? I was living in Idlewild up in the California mountains. I go down to the Leica store because I want to buy a Leica camera. There's a Leica, one of the Leica stores, and I get talking to the guy behind the counter and showing me some cameras just to get an idea of what does it look like to use these cameras. a woman is in there. She's talking about these wild Mustangs on Indian territory. I don't even know where she was talking about, whether she mentioned South Dakota, but it was the wild Mustangs and Indian. And my head just started doing like, oh, this is interesting. This could be an idea. And I drove home. And as I drove up the mountain, I went past an Indian reservation, Santa Rosa, which I'd never even looked at this. I'd only lived there for about 6 weeks. So granted, I'd only driven past a couple of times, but I suddenly see this sign. I Google Native American Indian woman, and what comes back is that they are being murdered, they are going missing. That romanticized idea of what an Indian woman looked like dissipated within seconds. And it all happened so quickly. I realized at that moment I wanted to document that. What does that look like? What are they doing? What do they look like? So I called someone that I knew, that I'd worked with through some of the sort of, let's say, meditative spaces with unseen realms and spirit work and such. I've always been very interested in the unseen and various other things that consciousness really, what is this? What is it that we're really experiencing here as humans? Sort of every level of that. And she knew somebody that had been on the Indian reservation in South Dakota, connected me with this woman. And literally within, I'm going to say, kid you not, 6 weeks from that thought, as I was driving home, I'm now sitting on the sofa of Carol Einrup Herrera in Lakota, in Pine Ridge, on the poorest reservation or the poorest county in America. And I'm beginning to make this film. I mean, of course, there was little things in between, but it just fell so quickly into a yes, this is what you should be doing. And within 2 months, I'd filmed the first segment. I created this image of Delasina chief eagle with the red handprint.
Yeah, that went viral.
And I suddenly realized that I understood what was necessary to do with this film in order to bring the type of awareness that was necessary in art form, because I truly believe that art heals and art is the greatest messenger of story and, change and all of the pieces. I think art is a great way to allow people to interpret as they wish what moves them to action. Art, when done well, can really open up that space for people to step into and connect to stories that are hard to look at. And I realized that this was a really hard one. So I spent 3-4 years until the day that it was released after COVID, because COVID happened in between all of it. And I was back and forth. I was going to the reservation. I was dropping off clothes and food and toilet paper and all the things that were needed during COVID. And finally, the film came out, and it was like giving birth. And I've not had children, so not that I would know, but I felt hungover once the film had come out because I was carrying such a weight. And I didn't realize the enormity, Tess, until the day that I released the film of what I was releasing out into the world.
Well, it is I would describe it as an exquisitely brutal offering, in that it is a beautifully made film about something that is so incredibly important. It touched my heart deeply, but it also disturbed me. The reality of the desecration or the devastation of this beautiful culture and these people. And it brought it close to home. And I felt, as I was watching it, just an invitation to remember who I am as a woman, who my fellow women are as women, and the importance of preserving what we offer and the unique medicine, as I was saying before. I want to ask you about what you were talking about before, which is whenever you do a job, you get nervous. Am I going to do it well? Am I going to hold it? Am I going to do it justice, and so forth? What was it like, even though you had this deep calling and it was a full-bodied yes, to go into an indigenous community, a sacred community with Carol, a giant in that community, as a non-Native American, even though you are of Indian, Scottish, English, Black, I mean, you have all of this, you are a woman of color, but you are not of them. And yet at the same time, you are of them, as we know. But what was that like? They are, it seems, maybe this is a misconception that I need to shift in my mind, but to me, I would imagine that they want to be the custodians of their story and their legacy. How did they welcome you in? What was that journey like for you?
I think a part of me was terrified. Terrified. I was like, what am I doing? And then a part of me was like, why will my doing this help? How will this support them? Because it's so big. You're talking about, 535 years of genocide. You're talking about a history that is just layered, and a people who are very well known. There are over 700 tribes in the United States with, can you imagine, over 700 languages and ways of practicing their traditions. And here I am with one of the most known of that 700 or more. I didn't realize how big a responsibility it really was until I started to make it. And I got home the first time and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? It really felt like that. And then I realized that ultimately their story is all indigenous people's stories.
Yes.
This isn't just their story. This is a mirror to the rest of the world. So when I could comprehend that they are not the only ones suffering, and then you look into what's happening with the Aboriginals in Australia, you look at what's happening over there in New Zealand, and we talk about these boarding schools, and we talk about what happened with the slavery, with the Africans all being brought from West Africa to Barbados, which is where I grew up. And then I think about my grandfather, who is West African, Trinidad, Caribbean, Indian. I think about all of the displacement of these people's history and story. My story was in there. It wove into this idea that my great-grandfather was also African, who was displaced from Africa on my mom's side, to England. And so you're just like all of these things and the history of the abuse within my own family and why. It's all of our stories. We're in this sort of,
yes.
I want to say, and I really want to be mindful to say that I personally have my own story that is not like theirs, yet it is in my ancestral lineage. And there's something in that I wanted to make right. I wanted to give the voices to my ancestors by way of this film. So in showing up and them being like, so why are you here? And then they look behind my back and they see that my crew is only the four of us and we're all from different parts of the world. And, I had my cinematographer, my DP, actually, a fantastic man from South America. There was just like a mixture of people. Kimiko is from Japan. Another had Scottish heritage, and myself. That was really it. And Matt being American, with mixed heritage as well from Europe. We're all of mixed blood. We're all from different parts of the world. But I was a very small crew and I wasn't coming with a huge fanfare of, I've got a big conglomerate behind me with tons of money and we're coming to farm your stories. I genuinely came in saying, there's a calling and I'm here and I have my microphone and I'm willing to share your story in the best way that I can, as someone who understands film and storytelling. And their response was, we've been waiting for you. And that was it. That kind of shifted. And they tested me along the way. They brought me into ceremony. They questioned why I was there. I went into council meetings. Had it been 150 years ago, I would have been walking into the teepee and they would have been sitting me in front of the elders, which they did in a very different visual because we were in, back beyond minus 20 degrees in a tin can of a trailer with a fireplace that barely has enough wood to keep everybody warm as they're snuggling in their big, coats and hats and, scarves. And it would have been blankets and more feathers and more, campfire type energy 150 years ago. So, but it was the same sentiment. Why are you here? What is it that why are you amongst our people? And because Carol Einrup Herrera who first brought me in, accepted me as family. She said, "Sister, this takes years to establish." She gave me these earrings of these that she'd made, these feathered earrings with dream catchers, and she said, "I gift you these earrings as a gift," which is a way in which they bring you into the family, is by stating that that's what I'm now calling you. But there's a ceremony around that, and then there's an exchange of gifts. And it happened really, really quickly because she said, "We don't have much time." And she died 3 years later. So it's that idea that she somehow in there knew that her time was short, and she helped me make this film. So it was once she had told the people, my sister here, why I was accepted. I'll give you the 2-second story of driving with her to ceremony. I'd been there all of 3 days, and it's dawn, and the morning star is there, and she's speaking away in English to me as I'm driving her to the ceremonial grounds. Carol Einroth was not that old when she passed. At the time, 68 or 67 when we were talking. And the morning star comes up and she sees it and she's like, uh-huh. And she closes her eyes and she starts praying in Lakota. I'd never heard the language. It's just me and her in the car. And I just burst into tears. It's this moment of I understood everything, and it's like I'd heard the language before. And she finished her prayer, and we got to the grounds, and we stepped inside, and everyone had been taking peyote throughout the night for a ceremony for one of the brothers who had cancer. It's Carol's brother who had cancer. We sat down, and after an hour or so, they broke the ceremony by eating. With drumming. They had the water drum, and I'm sitting next to Carol, and Carol starts to speak. She's a revered elder. And she said, "I want to introduce you to my sister here who just drove with me to the ceremony. And when that morning star came up and I started to speak the morning prayer, she cried tears for all of you." Makes me want to cry. But it was that moment. That was the acceptance. That was the moment of, so you will welcome her in. I trust her. I see who she is. And that was the beginning of the journey.
Oh,
so it's heartfelt. It's heartfelt. It's not coming in with ego. It's humility. It's, I see you. It's, I'm not here to prove anything. I mean, I was scared. You sit with these beautiful people for the first time, and you get to hear that song and the beating of the drum, and they're sitting in prayer, and they're fanning you with that sage, and you're on their land. You're no longer in America. You're in Lakota territory. It's a whole other world. So it was day by day. I took it day by day, but we prayed a lot. There was a lot of prayer involved.
So as you continue this journey of helping these indigenous cultures have more of a voice through art, through the lens of you and your creativity and your perspective, so that we can watch, it through your lens. Take me inside the evolution of this latest project of the lost language of her, deciding that you were going to use your word from before, riff off or expand into or pray with, or, however we want to think about it in terms of language, even though it transcends language in many ways, this sense of spirit and holding spirit and legacy and generational humanity, that you just decided, I'm going to take 2 cameras and collaborate with Leica and head off on my own and sleep on floors and gather my water and wood, so to speak, not really knowing what it's going to be, and quite frankly, not having control of it and being aware of that, as we never are in control, even though we'd like to think that we are. What was that invitation that you have now taken up to go on this journey around the world?
Firstly, I'm like, as you describe it, I'm like, it's frightening.
I would be terrified.
Now I've just become, because I leave literally from this moment that we're speaking, I leave in 5 days from now. And I'm about to do 9 weeks of that, sleeping on floors, bathing in rivers, as it crosses the gamut, people's houses, spare bedrooms, sofa, whatever it takes, because at this time I don't have any financial support to make this happen. And yet these miracles just keep providing me with another step forward. So I've been wanting to make this film for about 3 years, tentatively called The Lost Language of Her, because of this idea of Mother Earth's language being lost amongst the most of humanity at this time. May change. It'll probably evolve into something else. Like with Women of the White Buffalo, there was another title when I first went out. And I think it was called The Sun Dancers or something. And, you get out there and suddenly you're like, oh, wait, all I kept hearing was the story of the White Buffalo Calf woman. And these women are carrying that strength of remembrance, because that's the story. She hands over this pipe, the sacred pipe, saying, remember who you are, remember your prayer, so this connection to spirit. So in a way, I felt like that the women from Women of the White Buffalo are sort of the ones that are saying, remember who you are, remember the spirit of what it is to be a Lakota woman, the backbone of these communities. So that's why that title kind of evolved into that. With this, it'll probably do the same thing. We have the idea of wanting to speak to those that still hold her language, the people that still can speak to Mother Earth, that still have the ability to hear her. And then we have, it evolved. It started with the women that hold this medicine of speaking to Mother Earth. And then I realized that isn't the film. The film is actually Mother Earth. It's a transmission from her. And as you're creating any of these stories, as you're letting them show you, they start weaving that path, I just kept listening. I'm going, yeah, it's not about women who hold the medicine. It's about Mother Earth. It's about Mother Earth. And she just kept speaking to me. I walk through the jungle. I walk through the forests. I go to the ocean. I lie in the water. I'm always speaking to the elements. I'm always in gratitude and thanking these elements for holding me and supporting me. And then I started to hear Zach Bush, Dr. Zach Bush, who is, he's known for many different sort of, I'm going to say, chapters over the past couple of years, whether it's the COVID energy, vaccination energy, what it is to be in this human body energy. And then I start hearing him, what sounds to me like he's channeling Mother Earth. And I just kept hearing his articulation around Mother Earth and what it is to be human. And I kept thinking, I think I meant to do the film with him. So I reached out to his people, his support team, and they all knew me from Women of the White Buffalo. And they were just like, okay, the timing is incredible. There's something here for the two of you to connect and create around this film. So I met with him some months ago, and it was a full body yes for him to say, how can we weave this story together? And I said, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to record all of these indigenous peoples and bring that as some of the offering of this film to speak to Mother Earth, those that still speak her language, as a transmission rather than bobbing heads speaking on behalf of. And he said, well, I have this other project that I think you should know about called Origin. It's to create a prayer for Mother Earth so that we could get 1 billion people to touch the earth at the same time. And I said, well, when is that happening? And he said, at the end of this year, if we could get it together, meet my creative partner, Chris Decker. I said, okay. We had that conversation, and Chris said, well, how many indigenous tribes are you going to be connecting with? And I said, it's not really about the indigenous peoples per se. I want a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's not about. And he said, well, I would love more voices. How do you feel about going across the planet and meeting with the Australian, the New Zealand, the African, go up to Scotland, maybe go back to the Dakotas? And I was like, I'm in. And I'm going next week to Colombia to meet with 4 different tribes, where I'm literally going on donkey to go into the heart of Mother Earth. They say it's the heart of Mother Earth, this specific Apo, the mountains. the sacred mountains. So I'm just like following the lead, the thread of it's not so much the why, it just seems like it's like I have no choice. And as I'm now connecting, I had a meeting this morning with a man who speaks Gaelic, who's connected to that Scottish, that strength of the Scots, the Celtic warrior energy. This man had me in tears. He sang me a song about the warrior woman. He said, "This is you." And so you start connecting with these types of people. I'll be meeting him when I go to Scotland. And there's a magic, there's a weaving, because these people are the last key holders of this integral part of a language that connects us to her. So there's something about this opportunity for me to connect with the people that still hold this language, because it is disappearing. The Lakota people had 10,000 people that spoke their language 10 years ago, and now they have like 1,500. So this idea of being able to capture some of the song, some of the language, some of the understanding, and weave it into a story like this, it just, I don't know, in some ways I think, wow, really? Is it possible to weave such magic into one space and let it be a transmission from Mother Earth? And the only way that I can say yes, it is if I just keep listening. And it just still feels like a full body yes. So I'm like, okay, let's go. And so I'm going. No matter where or how it shows up, people are very much wanting to have me come into the fold of their world and gift me whatever is necessary to share that story.
So yeah, it's sort of bringing us full circle, isn't it, about this idea of what is my story? What is the collective story? What is the remembering? What is your story? Someone else's story? And it all weaves together into one tapestry, and we're all coming from source. So as an artist and as a seer and as an interpreter, and I know you are going to have interpreters who are literally going to be interpreting language, and yet, just like your story with Carol in the car, you didn't understand the words, but you absolutely understood the language. And so how do you, as an artist, when you are interviewing somebody, capturing somebody, be clear about the story that you want to be telling without agenda and allowing it to unfold, but at the same time, you are crafting of it at the same time? I'm not even sure if that's the right way to ask you this question. So just help me find our way into this, because it's something that's been sort of swimming around in my heart as I've been listening to you. I've always been fascinated by people that take still photos that have movement in them, have life in them, have energy and vibration and spirit and whispers in them. And you're going to be doing moving pictures, you know. So how do you dance with that, you know, collective and individual energy?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's such a great question, because it is that thing of how do you not get in the way?
There you go. That's an even
immerse yourself, right? Immerse yourself, but don't get in the way.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
But don't be putting your voice on this, because this isn't. For whatever reason, I will say is that I listen to the spirit or the soul. I capture the soul of the individual. Yes, I have a way in which I show my art. I have a lens, like you say, yet I'm not creating a narrative that isn't who they are. And I, especially with Women of the White Buffalo, I very much allowed them to watch a lot of the iterations of the edit, which they're not meant to do. A lot of other filmmakers were like, well, you can't go back and show them until it's finished. And I said, well, you know, I'm not doing it that way. I'm going to go back as many times as I need to, so that this is such a clear voice in their voice through my ability to share story in the best way I know how. And I think that's why Women of the White Buffalo, you couldn't really mark it as, oh, she got that wrong. I remember the couple of days before it came out, on Instagram or on Facebook, you know, you get a lot of people saying that don't listen to this white woman. I'm like, wait, is nobody, this person doesn't even see me clearly, because firstly, I'm not white. But this idea of, Indian speaking, I'm like, oh, and again, I have a lot of that in my blood. It's that weird thing of they want you to get it wrong because they're so used to people creating their own narrative around something to make them look good. Like, what do you get out of this? And I had the indigenous peoples ask me, what are you getting from this? And with my heart and soul, I say, I get to express my art with these stories, yet I know that the ancestors are watching. I know there are spirits that are watching, that I'm not alone, that if I get this wrong, I feel like they'll come after me. So I just really, I understand that there is no separation from this world and the spirit world. I'm very clear about that. So I truly know that my path is about truth, and it's about showing up with that open heart. I have nothing to gain from this. It's proven over and over again. You don't make money from documentaries. That's
well, the other piece of it too is that in somebody's eyes, you're always going to get it wrong.
Yeah, but it's weird because it yes, of course, but that voice, that whatever those voices are, just were really not present. For the film. Of course, then there were some of my actions that, she said this and how dare she say that. And literally it would be like, why don't you just take a moment to see what are you offering the world? Because it's just an offering. I'm just doing my best to gift an offering to the world without agenda. If I have an agenda, it's to wake people up, it's to help people shift consciousness, it's to, have people see something through heart space and not head space. And I'll keep doing it until I'm too tired to do it. But right now it just feels very clear that it's something I want to do, and I don't really have the choice actually to do.
Yeah. When people say without agenda or I'm agendaless, I don't actually understand that. I don't know where to put that in my body, because I think that there's always an intention. We put an offering out with an intention. So we could call it an agenda, we could call it an intention, but there has to be some kind of mindful, conscious impetus to gift an offering. And then we're not in control of how it's received and the lens with which people put their they put on their receiving. And so, just giving it with the intention of putting a beautiful offering out into the world. Full stop for me, which is what I'm hearing you say.
Isn't that what art is? I mean, somebody just mentioned on Instagram me posting some things around being in Brazil. I just came back from being in Brazil and Peru, and the idea of not doing it the right way. Like, did you take, is it the person, saying to me, did I take any precautions prior to wanting to take ayahuasca or any of the plant medicines? And, it's 10 times more tobacco, nicotine, with the rapé. And do I know what I'm doing? And so I said, yeah, I do know what I'm doing. And I'm doing this for myself. You've got to start with that. I'm doing this for myself because at the end of the day, it is my journey. So there's got to be somewhere in there that you're like, yeah, this is the journey I want to be on. Okay, so you good with this choice? Yeah, I'm good with this choice. So you're happy with this adventure you're about to take? Yeah, this feels amazing. Okay, good. So we've got that in place. And then there's and whilst I'm on this journey, in my growth, in my connection to source, in my desire to know God in all aspects of what that looks like, I'm going to create art. And in that creation of art, I hope that through my awakening, I get to share just a little bit of that, because I have the fortunate gift of being a storyteller through, capturing things with my camera. And then there's that portal that is open to me where I can express it in ways that hopefully will shift people's perspective. It doesn't, that's okay too.
Yeah. And to your point before, at the beginning of our conversation of what is your story that you want to tell? What is your unique perspective? And we have to have self in our offering. We have to have a sense of this is who I am and this is how I see this, or this is where this is coming from. And we hope that through our art, through our performance, through our photo, through our song, through our voice, through our poem, whatever incantation it takes, hopefully that somebody will be able to see themselves and by extension the world or spirit or nature or Mother Earth in a way that they hold in some meaningful way today. I mean, that is the offering of art, which is so exquisite. But I think that there is this expectation that it will be selfless unless it doesn't have meaning if it's not. And I think that that's a really sort of perverse lens that some people put on art, that it should be agendarless or it's not of value. There's something weird around that, where people judge an offering, and that it's got some kind of nefarious intent and so forth. I see this a lot, that the judgment, like I was speaking, to your friend Sheila Darcy on the podcast, and she said something so insightful, which is we can't be creative with judgment. As soon as we have judgment, it becomes something else. We can't be curious with judgment. Then it becomes something else. And I think that we're sort of dancing around that concept here.
It becomes performative.
There you go. Yes.
To make it for someone else.
Yes.
So to clear that plate, and I can say this, is that the idea of being a creative is to create. And wherein there lies what you create is really, again, what really comes through you, what turns you on, what you know. There's something about what you know in this expressive space. And I know people, and I know story, and I know heart, and I know spirit. So I sit with the Lakota. I don't know them per se, but that human, that spirit weaving, that listening piece, that heart connection, all of that is everything that our human experience is about. I go to the jungle, I sit with the people. I'm like, I don't speak Portuguese, nor do I speak Shenandoah tribe language, yet I know you. I feel your heart. I can navigate that space. So I get to create because I know that. I know that there's something connecting all of us. And so my offering is coming from that space of what I know. And the rest of it is just then they get to explore their story and be who they are. And I get to hold it because somehow in there is still that human story that we're all having to experience. It doesn't matter where you live. The beauty and in some way the gift of what I'm doing is I get to be with these amazing people, and there's a familiarity in it. So there's an easy pathway into being with these people. And again, it's because I'm holding something I know. And whether it's the presence of spirit within me, within them, that I feel that connection to, I don't know. And yet it all feels very familiar. So there's something in there that is deeper than my craft, that is deeper than my art. And so, yeah, again, we lean into the thing that we know that feels in resonance with our expression, right? I desire to express this, and I'm floored by the exchange. And then I get to present these photos to the world, let's say, because that's what I do, many things, the hats that I wear. And other people get to feel the presence of that spirit with that person. Why? Because in that moment, when I sat with that person, I could see it. And then you translate that through the visual. And that's kind of my understanding of the why. I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care. Get off your sofa and you go and take some photos of somebody in the jungle. Yes. For what it's worth, I'm having this expansive experience, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. And as long as I have my health and I have the ability to keep it going and to move through these landscapes, I will keep doing it, and I will do it coming from my heart space. and I'm being welcomed. There's something, I must be doing something right, because the doors are opening and people want me to show up and they want to participate in the dance of this collaboration, because it's all collaborative, no matter who you're in front of.
Mm. I love what you're saying about also this familiarity, that you sit with somebody that you don't know, and yet there's a shared knowing.
Crazy.
If we just listen, you know, and allow the resonance to come through. You're talking about doing what gives you joy, doing what turns you on. What turns you on as a woman and as an artist?
I think being able to just have the freedom to do what I do, so I don't have someone telling me what I need to be doing. I think that really turns me on, that I love to be free in this expression of being a photographer and a filmmaker, me traveling on my own. And even though I'm very well prepared, I don't have someone over my shoulder telling me what I should be doing or how I should be doing it or how to film or what to capture. That freedom, it turns me on. I realize it because when I get told how I have to do it, the result is never that good. So I feel very blessed that I get to have that freedom as an artist, for sure. I mean, the idea of as a woman, I love being in the body of a woman in this lifetime. I love the embodiment of that divine feminine. I think that the timeliness of us being here in this timeline as a woman, really holding the flame of the divine feminine. I'm so prepared. I'm so ready to participate in that through my work. I think it's time. It's not about standing again on the mountaintop and roaring, you know, us women, we need to be heard. I'm so not that person. I'm just, it's more this embodiment and feeling into the totality of what it is to be a woman in this timeline, and then drawing the line across the sand when you're not being heard, you're not being honored. I have been through, it's so funny. We just had this conversation with my producing partner, Sheila Darcy, who's producing this film with me, this idea of being mansplained to by any white how I should or shouldn't be, whether it's within, regardless of the what. But I'm just like, do they have a clue how far?
But I would say that there's woman-splaining too.
I'm not that. I'm not
takes place.
I'm just not into. I'm into the listening, the hearing, the frequency.
Yeah.
It just the labels. I'm not this idea of being in this divine feminine body. It's just, I see you, sister. How can I support you? That's what I want to. I want to be in that reciprocity, that feeling of how can I be there for you? I see you need support. Women can be awful with one another as well. It's not just man against women, but it's just so I want to just create more of that, women holding women and us sharing our gifts and seeing our gifts in one another and supporting those gifts for one another and stepping into the world with that. I've got your back, sister. I really have your back. That's the way I want to see more of a way in which we be together in the world. No, I don't stand on soapboxes and do all of that. It's not, I love that people do. That's just not my thing. I just want this sort of reciprocity, this I see you, I hold you, I honor you. How can I support energy?
Let's talk about your exploration and your work in the unseen realms. So how you invited that part of yourself in the evolution of the aura pathway.
That was, it's that thing when you're just ignoring the elephant in the room. So that was just years and years and years of ignoring the elephant. I'd been doing tarot card readings. I remember so well, 17, 18, 19 years of age. And I now have maybe 40 decks. It's that thing when you move houses as much as I have moved, just because of the logistics of my life and, deciding to be in one place or another. And your library of books gets smaller, your clothing collection gets smaller, your little items and tchotchkes that you love get smaller. And you sort of find yourself moving to Costa Rica and all you're bringing with you are, 40 tarot decks, all your herbs and behind me, my little apothecary and sage and all different types of plant medicine from all over the world. You're like, wait, how did I accumulate all of this? Like not really realizing that is who I truly am, this stepping into the magic, the curiosity, of what it is to live this experience. And it isn't as black and white as you think. And so getting to stand in that power was really only a couple of years ago, getting to sit with my mentor, who is the most profound medium, lives in upstate New York, Sabra, incredible. I'd been gifted a session with her. And then the second session, and in that first session, Carol Einrope Herrera from Women of the White Buffalo film, I just finished the film. She came into the reading and she told Sabra things that only I knew. In order for me to know that she was in the room, she said, Deborah bought me a pair of shoes, and I want her to know that I was grateful for these shoes. And she described them. And because I'd said to Sabra, oh, this is a Lakota woman, she's, Native American, it would have been the perfect moment for the woman to say, oh, she's wearing a pair of moccasins. No, she says she's showing me a pair of black boots, little boots with two strappy Velcro straps, which I'd purchased for her because she had issues with her hands, because she was unwell and diabetes and such, and the swelling. And nobody knew that. So when she said she's showing me the shoes, she wants me to be sure that it's her. I just went, oh my gosh, this is like next level. Many things in this reading. A friend of mine had died. He'd come into the room. She tells me how he died. And I just burst into tears. And she's like, what's, thinking, of course, I'm sad about the death. I said, he won't stop talking to me. He's with me all the time. He keeps, she goes, well, of course, you're a seer. And I just said, okay, I'm ready. And she's like, okay. I said, no, I'm really ready to honor my gift fully and step into this, because I've been playing with it for too long. Not trusting it, I should say, for too long. And she became my mentor. We worked together for 3 months. And finally, everything from what's in my hand and me telling her what's in her hand to here's a photo of somebody who's died. Can you tell me how they died? And I could tell her, and I could hear the voices, so you, everybody has the gift to be able to see. We just have to, like anything, polish up that channel, just, creating that opening by doing the homework, by doing the work. It's not so much a gift, it's just plugging into your channel and me having to clear any cobwebs in that channel so that I could hear correctly. So you do a lot of practice with vision, memory, meditation, where you leave the body and you practice going to different places and all of these different things, which I did, so that you can fine tune your attention. It's all about that. So I've read lots of books now, and I've watched lots of films and, other seers, how they do it. And I just realized I have my unique channel, and to express myself with that without pretending I don't have it anymore, shifted everything. So I created the Aura Pathway, and I've done hundreds of readings, and they just keep blowing my mind. I'm just like, I think there's that piece where you're just like, wow, did that really happen? And the trust and navigating the unseen realms and trusting what you see. So the last piece I'll add to it is that my dog passed away during the time that I was doing this work a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago now. And she had a red collar. And when she died, she left her body. I was in the hospital and I went to put her collar back on. I was in shock. It all happened so quickly. And I said, I'm putting the collar back on because obviously it had her name, so that they would know who you are. I didn't even know what really I was saying. I was thinking in the other realms, they'll have her name, or when she gets cremated, they'll see her name. And 2 days later, Sabra spoke with one of my dear friends who'd had a session with her, who wanted to gift me the session. I said, no, Saskia, my dog, I said, she hasn't stopped talking to me. She told me why she was in my world, why she was here, what the gifts were. I said, so I'm fine. She's with me. She said, there's no separation. And I listened to a podcast of someone talking about death experiences, and it was verbatim from another near death of a relative who came back and told her all of this. And it was almost like she was saying the same thing as what Saskia had told me. So there was just so many, it was too uncanny. I said, I'm good. So my friend took the session with the medium. And at the end, she said, my friend just lost her dog. Do you have any messages for her? Just because she's, devastated as I was, losing the physical realm of that connection. And she comes out, she goes, she talked to Saskia. I said, oh, okay. She goes, Saskia was like, oh, she goes, it was such an easy passing. I'm doing great. All is well. And she goes, and she's showing me her red collar. And that was it. I just came over. Like I just knew that even the way she spoke like I could imagine if Saskia could speak, always with joy, always so happy. But she was pointing at her collar because she knew that I had said it's so they know who you are. But it was so I knew that it was her. So there's these, I've had, by the way, so many of these moments. I trust it. I move in that understanding with such certainty. So when I get to sit with the Lakota, when I get to sit with these Shenandoah tribe, or I get to sit with the Kogi or the Arawako, any of these, I feel like I'm connecting on that spiritual niveau because they say to me and have said to me, oh, you've brought the spirits with you. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's probably me. Yes, that's probably possible. And they see me that I can see. And so that's it. So I'm like, okay, then I choose to walk with that connection. And I'm speaking with them all the time. I did ayahuasca for the first time with the younger ones of the tribe, the 11-year-olds, the 12-year-olds. It was unbelievable. It didn't throw me off the ledge. It didn't have me purging. Mother Earth spoke to me, and the guardians that speak all the time about this project, about the why I need to do this. And I'm just listening. There's me thinking, great, anyone would actually call this psychosis. And yet I'm sitting here in the middle of the jungle. And I said to these voices, I said, well, who are you? And they said, well, we're the guardians. And I said, well, I thought Mother Earth was talking to me. And she then, I'm on the medicine, ayahuasca. She's like, of course, I'm always speaking with you. And I have these that hold this space and support me. So I said, show yourself to me. And these incredible fractals of color, the most beautiful art you've ever seen, they show themselves, and they had these little, for me, this is the way they wanted to show themselves to me, these little beautiful faces with these huge, beautiful, long robes. And they were all looking down at me as I was looking up. And as soon as I could see these guardians, they said, she remembers. And that was it. It was like, I'm not going mad. This is just constantly being imagined maybe through different landscapes and different moments that I do see. And that is what my work is all about, is to be able to see who these people are in order to capture their stories, in order to share any messages from any of these people, plants. I mean, we really are dynamic beings, all of us.
Magical beings. That's what I'm hearing as you're speaking, is trusting in your magic.
Yes.
And delivering your offer within that.
Yes.
With love.
People are so quick to say, aren't you so lucky to do what you do? And I say, no, aren't I so creative in my listening?
Oh, I love that. I love that. Ooh, okay. So I could talk to you about this all day long. That brings me to the question that I close every episode with, and I will ask it of you. But I feel like what you just said would be a beautiful response to this. But let's just see how you find your way into this. When you have a dream in your heart and you don't feel like you have what it takes to make it happen, what do you say to yourself?
I don't think I ever think that way.
Yeah, but if you did, what would you offer somebody who did think that way then?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a piece to anybody else, because I do feel this limitlessness around creativity, because I understand, as Mother Nature and the guardians have said, I am infinite. I'm infinite possibilities, and so are you. And that really then, it's up to you. Who are you listening to? Who's the one that told you that you cannot, you're not enough? Oh, you can't do that. You can't try that. You can't be that. Is it your voice or someone else imprinted something? And if I say to you, you are limitless in all things, how would you move with that understanding? And really, that is what I say to myself when I have that moment of, oh my goodness, is this possible? Yeah, yes, it is. I could just hear the voice. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Trusting and really just going with the flow of the water as it leads you and really listening to your body. How does your body feel? Because trust me, your body will always tell you when you are not in alignment. So it's a combination of recognizing all is possible. And then how does that feel in my body?
Mm. Mm. Thank you for the way that you show up in the world. I cannot wait to drink in your next offering.
Well, I have to say thank you. I'm so sorry. Right there, it seems like our ending is nigh because there's the phone's ringing. Like my sweet dog Brando, who's like 16 in a couple of days, he keeps standing up and sort of staring off into space, which I think means he's ready to eat. I would say that honestly, it's such a joy to speak with you and to be given an opportunity to step into my voice through these moments in conversation reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So thank you.
Oh, what a beautiful conversation. Thank you, Sheila Darcy, for connecting us. Life is about storytelling. We are here to create the great story of our lives, and we are weaving stories and expressing ourselves with every experience, whether we consider ourselves to be artists or not. So cherish and value your unique voice and use it. What is the story that you want to be telling? What is your unique perspective? And maintaining the desire to participate with yourself and others, actively weaving listening and collaboration into the fabric of your day, giving yourself permission that it's okay to be creative and to play with yourself and others. And that lifelong dance of trusting your abilities and refining your craft. That opportunity is more than accessibility. You trust yourself, but you also put in the work to develop your skills. Then you go forth and believe that you've got something to offer. And you generate a path for yourself. You look for those spaces to fill, to be seen and to be heard. With Deborah, she was singing with her father as a child, then singing solo as an adult. Then she found her way into fashion design, into photography, found her voice as a filmmaker, and now as a healer. That all of the experiences that we have weave this tapestry of the unique offering of us. And celebrating that evolving dance between self-trust and self-doubt as a necessary part of creativity, that it can bring out the best in us because we're striving for something beyond what we've already done. And then actively choosing to be a part of amplifying the resonance of women, celebrating the unique medicine and wisdom of women, and tapping into the frequency of the power of the divine feminine, actively elevating and celebrating other women, and connecting with the elders and crones in your community, seeing the value of indigenous cultures and the reverence and the connection to the earth that they have, listening and learning from the women who carry the strength of remembrance, the lost language of her, as Deborah puts it. And choosing to meet people with heart and humility, finding the connection that transcends language and culture. When Deborah met Carol Faith Ironrope Herrera, who saw her heart and accepted her as family and taught the rest of the community to do the same. We trust her. We see her heart. If we show up and listen, we're present, we show our hearts, we can connect. And there is that shared knowing of story and nature that comes through. The heart listening and the presence of spirit allows us to connect through our shared human experience, even if we don't share language. Definitely check out Women of the White Buffalo. You can watch it on Amazon Prime. It is an exquisitely brutal reminder of the genocide and the erosion of the Lakota culture. And this isn't just their story. It is a mirror to the challenges of indigenous cultures all around the world. And it is also our story as women, that everything is birthed from women, and honoring the divine feminine and the wisdom and gifts of women, and wanting to play a part in preserving that and celebrating that and championing that, and actively maintaining a connection with Mother Earth and nature. What are you doing to listen and connect with her? How are you participating in protecting the collective of the planet? What's your connection to the spirit world? And again, like so many episodes on the podcast, art heals. It is the greatest messenger of change. So allow stories to touch you and move you into action. And her point about believing in yourself, if you feel like you can't, who are you listening to? Who has imprinted the story that you're not enough and you're not allowed? Who are you seeking permission from? If you believe that you're limitless, how then would you move forward with the understanding that you can be and do whatever you want? And just staying in that flow, that everything comes through us. Ideas are born through our dreams, our meditations, walks in nature, conversations with other people, and just trusting and listening to your body. How does your body feel? Your body will always tell you when you're not in alignment, when something isn't right, and it will tell you when it is an absolute full-bodied yes, that it has to be me. Listen and trust those signs from your body. And trusting in the magic of your offer. When fear comes in, trust, I am infinite possibilities. And then it's up to us. Trust and then just go with the flow of water and allow it to lead you to the magic. That essential combination of recognizing that it's possible and noticing how it feels in your body and letting your body lead you. Oh, please connect with Deborah and her work. All of the links are in the show notes. And I'm really interested in hearing how you hold yourself as a woman and how you connect with other women, how you're celebrating other women, and how you're tapping in to the frequency of women. So please leave a review. It really helps to show new people that we're offering really valuable content here with this podcast, and leave a note in the Facebook group. I'm really excited to hear.
I want to hear about your It Has to Be Me story. So head on over to ithastobeme.com/stories to share it in our free community. You can also join the conversations we're having about this episode and others. I'm Tess Masters. Join me next week and we'll dive inside another great story to help us go from dreaming to doing.